Hi, my name is Jimmy Humphrey, and I would just like to take a minute right now and talk about the need to find mercy from God. You see, I've talked to a lot of people over the years who thought that they had eternal life simply because they were good and decent people, they'd never kill anybody, and for the most part, their good deeds outweighed their bad, and they figured, you know what, I've been a relatively good person, so one day when I die, I'll go to heaven. Seems kind of like a logical sort of thought process, and I can definitely see how a lot of people can come to such an understanding about themselves and about having eternal life. But, you know what? I've found through my study of the Scriptures that really stands contrary to the teachings of Jesus Christ. In Luke chapter 18, we read about Jesus telling the following parable. And in this parable, he talks about two individuals. One who is a God-fearing individual who sought to keep all of God's commandments continually and was always a good little boy throughout his entire life. And then the other individual is not so good. Rather, he's a tax collector, and he stands before God, and this is the story and how it goes. Jesus told this parable to people who trusted in themselves that they were righteous, and they viewed others with contempt. Two men went into the temple to pray, and one of them a Pharisee, and the other a tax collector. And the Pharisee, who was always praying to himself, saying, God, I thank you that I am not like other people, swindlers, unjust, adulterers, or even like a tax collector. I fast twice a week, I pay tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing some distance away, was even unwilling to lift up his head to heaven, but was beating his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, the sinner. I tell you that this man went to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. And the point of this little story that Jesus told is ultimately this, that you and I are in need of mercy from God. That if we wish to have a relationship with God, that if we wish to have eternal life, that we must humble ourselves and come to Him. We shouldn't come to God with the attitude that this religious leader, this Pharisee, had. We shouldn't come to God with the idea that we're bringing Him something, that, you know, God, I'm such an outstanding moral individual. I've been a good boy and good girl my entire life. I've kept your commandments. I've gone to church on Sunday. I've said the prayer. I've done all these things. I give to the church and I help old people out. No such thing has any merit whatsoever to God and His side. Because God is ultimately not interested in what you can do for Him, but ultimately God is interested in what He can do for you. The tax collector stood before God in the temple, and he beat his breast, and he had a repentant heart, and he said, Lord, be merciful to me, a sinner. You see, this individual, this tax collector, went home justified in the sight of God because he realized that he was ultimately dependent upon the Lord and receiving mercy from God. You see, the tax collector didn't come to the Lord saying, look what a good person I've been. My good deeds have outweighed my bad. Rather, he came to the Lord empty-handed saying, Lord, I have nothing to offer you. Lord, I've been nothing but dirty and vile. Lord, I'm not even worthy to be standing here. I'm not even worthy to lift up my eyes to heaven. But he looked down upon himself and said, Lord, all I can do is stand here and be a recipient of your mercy. That's what you and I need to be. We need to be individuals who are recipients of God's mercy. For in doing such, instead of coming to God saying, this is what I've done, now here's what you're going to do for me, rather we come to God saying, Lord, you're the only one who can do anything for me because, Lord, I have nothing whatsoever that I can offer you. Be an individual who recognizes, ultimately, that you are in need of mercy. For until you do such, you can never have eternal life. Because until you recognize that you are in need of mercy, you will continue on and have the attitude of this Pharisee who thinks they're going to heaven because they're such a great person. God's not interested in taking good people to heaven. God's interested in touching people who are in need of mercy. Because you know what? Good people are ultimately arrogant. They think that they've accomplished something, and that their accomplishments mean something to God. But ultimately, Jesus shows, you know what? It's not about what you do. It's about what God can do for you. Receive the mercy of the Lord. Be blessed.